y'all, today we are making homemade apple pie filling. So I felt like we couldn't do a whole apple series and not include pie filling right here close to Thanksgiving time. So that's what we're doing today. So what you're going to do is wash and peel up a bunch of apples. Well, you don't have to wash them if you're not saving the skins, but I'm saving the skins. So, I washed mine. But you're going to want to peel and core your apples. Whatever way you peel and core your apples will work just fine. I'm using this handy dandy little contraption you have seen me use in all of my apple videos because it makes life peeling apples so dang much easier. So anyway, like I said, we are going to get some apples peeled up. You're going to need a total of 8 cups of apples. So I just peeled up a bunch and hoped for the best and ended up getting just about exactly what I needed. That doesn't ever happen to me, y'all, but it did today. So once you get your apples all peeled and cored, you can leave these, which you're going to see me do in a second. You can leave these halved like this, or you can cut them into smaller pieces. You could also dice these up if you wanted that in your apple pie. It doesn't make any difference, honestly. Like I said, I had started out with just the apple halves, and then I thought, I feel like they're going to store easier if I cut them a little bit smaller. Plus, the way that my peeler does, the slices are kind of thin, so I thought they would probably break apart a lot easier if the pieces were bigger, and I didn't want them to completely fall apart. So, like I said, I am just cutting my apples, and if you use this apple core that I have, be careful if you have a crooked apple because, as you can kind of see right there, sometimes if the apple is crooked, you get a little bit of the core on the apple that you sliced and diced. So just be careful that if any of that extra is in there, you can just kind of take care of that so you don't end up with it in your pie. So like I said, I'm just measuring out 8 cups. And it doesn't honestly have to be exact, but I did want to kind of get close, especially since I'm doing this in a video for y'all, right? And don't worry, the printable recipe, as usual, will be in the description box below the video. So once you get your apples all nice and diced up, just kind of set them over to the side for a second, and we are going to get the filling part of our apple pie filling going. So to a pot on your stove, you're going to add in 1.5 cups of white sugar. Then we're going to add in 1/2 cup of brown sugar. This is my homemade brown sugar. If y'all have not seen how to make your own homemade brown sugar and you've never done it before, go find that video. It tastes so much better than the store-bought. So then because we want this to be like the juice part of this, we want it to be a little bit thicker, we're going to add in 1/2 cup of cornstarch. And I don't know about arrowroot in this recipe. I've heard from a lot of people that arrowroot tends to get slimy when you heat it. I don't use it, so I'm not positive, but maybe just do the research if you feel like you need to add something besides cornstarch. So then I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I was showing y'all that's a 1/2 teaspoon measuring spoon that I'm using. That's why you see me doing 4 instead of 2. Sometimes that confuses people, so I try to point it out when I can. So 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Then we're going to add in 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. We are going to add in 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. And if you don't like some of these, don't add them into yours. But I love the way these just feel like fall, Then I'm going to add in 1/4 teaspoon or 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to add in 4 cups of water. And you're going to want to whisk that really, really well. If everything doesn't completely break up like the cornstarch, you see it kind of floating on the top. If that happens, it's okay. It will settle down when you're heating it. But I try to get it whisked up really good, as good as I can in the beginning so that we're ready for everything. And then we're going to, like I said, whisk this up real good. And then we're going to let this just slowly come up to a boil. And this does not take long to cook, by the way. This is not something that's going to take forever to cook. We are going to let this mixture come up to temperature until it's bubbly and it's gotten thick. And at that point, we are going to add in 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And you can see how it's bubbling, how thick that liquid has gotten, the liquid. That's what we want it to be. If you've ever opened a can of pie filling, you know that thick, the thick filling part around the apples, that's what this is, okay? So, and this is not going to make 1 can. This is going to make quite a bit, just FYI. So once you add your 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and whisk that in real good, we are going to add in those 8 cups of apples that we cut up. And you're going to mix this up into your pot. And just be gentle, like I said, especially if you use the peeler, core, slicer combo that I used, which I love, by the way, and I will link it for y'all. We've done a lot of apple videos lately, and that thing has been a lifesaver in the kitchen. But because they're a little bit thin, be gentle when you're stirring, but you want to make sure you get your apples all good and coated, because we want these apples to soften up a little bit, but we also don't want them to get super mushy. Y'all know the consistency of apples when you're, if you open a can of apple pie filling. That's how we want these apples to be. So you don't want them overly mushy, but you also don't want them crunchy, So we're going to stir that up real good, and we're just going to let this cook for about 3 to 4 minutes, just until your apples are slightly tender, okay? And as you can see, this is a big pot of apple pie filling. So I have this big 32-ounce container that I am putting stuff in now. And then the others are 16-ounce containers. These are my cat's hollering if y'all hear something in the background. He done seen something out the window and he's freaking out. But anyway, you're just going to scoop your apple pie filling into whatever containers you have, whatever freezer safe containers you have. And these are going to last you. Now you can use them immediately if you want to, but like for me, I wanted to have these ready that I could put into the freezer, and that way I have them for Thanksgiving when I'm ready to make apple pies. But they'll last probably about 8 to 10 months, up to a year probably in your freezer. But just make sure that you put them in a good, freezer safe container. And I will link these containers for y'all too, because somebody always asks me which containers I use, Y'all, my cat is really freaking out. I don't know what he's got going on in there. But like I said, if you don't like cinnamon, or you don't want all of the extra seasonings, like the allspice and all that stuff in there, you can definitely adjust the seasonings, especially if you're somebody who is a seasoned cook and you kind of know how you like things. You can definitely adjust those seasonings, but this is really, really good the way it is. So I highly suggest trying it this way. So like I said, once you get everything done, put it in your freezer containers. Then you're going to let this cool to room temperature, let it cool down completely. And then we're going to seal them up. And then you can, if you're going to use them in the next week or two, stick them in your refrigerator. Or you can stick them over in your freezer, like I said, for a good 8 to 10 months or so. And they'll be perfectly fine. And then you'll have apple pie filling anytime you want it. And just so you'll know about how much we made, each of the smaller containers is roughly the equivalent of one of those cans of apple pie filling, or pie filling in general. So just to give you an idea of how much we made. And then of course, when you're making your pies, you just use as much of this as you need to for as many pies as you're making. All right, that is all that I have for y'all today, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.